Welcome everyone to our episode today of our live series in regards to e-commerce discovery, conversion in retail, and everything in between. We have Dr. Liraz Margalit joining us today. Liraz, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here today.
Cheers. We're going to have a super interesting conversation. For those who don't know, Liraz Margalit is a social physiologist, psychologist, sorry, my bad, who specializes in behavioral design and decision making. Liraz integrates neuropsychology and behavioral economics perspectives to analyze user behavior, deliver actionable insights for business stakeholders. She's a lecturer in IDC and a worldwide keynote speaker. Her consumer behavior research was awarded with the OBE Online Business Excellence for 2016, as well as the Best of New York Marketing, and was chosen as a CMS Wire Contributor of the Year 2017. Super impressive. Her research papers and studies can be found in top business magazines like Entrepreneur, TechCrunch, Forbes. She also writes an ongoing blog for Psychology Today named Behind Online Behavior. I heavily recommend that you go and check out that blog and some of Liraz's other work. Liraz, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you're a super busy person, so it's great to have you today.
Of course, thank you. I'm so excited.
Great. So let's jump right in. We had some conversation, preparing for this session, and we spoke about the retail world and how a lot of the business now kind of went online, and a lot of our clients are dealing with challenges in regards to conversion and how do they create like great consumer experiences for a new type of breed of shoppers that are coming around. And we tend to think about ourselves as rational creatures, right?
Right.
And I think that if we talk about conversion, how people decide what to shop for, when to shop for, we're actually seeing that we're not as rational as we might think.
Right.
And I read some of your papers that addressed that, and I was extremely fascinated to hear more from you about, maybe you can guide us through some of the decision-making process that are actually in the background that makes us think that we're rational, even though we're not really.
Right, Gal. This is actually an excellent question, and I'm really happy that you raised this issue because, traditional economic theory speculates that our purchasing decisions follow the principle of utility maximization, or, in other words, when we try to decide which item to buy, we measure each potential selection against the criteria most important to us, if it is cost or warranty or features or safety, and choose the option that most accurately meets our needs. But this model also assumes that our preferences are well defined and constant over time. But the problem is that this isn't actually reflected in real life decision making, and especially when we're talking about online behavior, we keep seeing that those type of thinking is completely wrong, because the psychological perspective suggests that each purchasing decision we make is actually quite dependent upon the context in which it is made. So the value that we attach to a particular option can vary significantly depending on our mood, our emotions, our previous experience, even the number of options available, or any of several other factors. So one of the most intriguing aspects found to influence our decision making is the manner in which the various options are presented. So if I will present you the option, we call it framing. So if I present you option, let's say that you have 3 options, so we are most likely to choose the middle one. But if I'm only going to present you 2 options, you will choose the free one. So it is highly dependent on the context. And also, studies suggest that information processing is directed by what we call relative thinking, meaning that we think that we know our preferences, but actually, we don't know what we prefer until we see it in a context. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you enter a website and you see this amazing new bag, and it costs $1,000. And you think, oh my God, it is so expensive. And then you see this other purse and it only costs $600. Then you suddenly realize, oh my God, this is a cheap purse or bag or whatever item it is, because you first saw another item. So it is not like we judge the item isolated or objectively. We keep preparing the other option and we keep comparing the other option to one another, and this is how we actually make decisions.
That's so interesting because it got me thinking. By the way, I'm taking notes like crazy here, but it got me thinking, and maybe we can touch on that a bit later. But in terms of how different brands can design the flow and the experience in the website in a way that really utilizes, relative thinking, for example. So if I'm, how you have these carousels with like commonly shop together, or other people who purchase exactly this also purchase that. I think that there's a lot of room there for design thinking and how different brands can play with the prices that they show, if I'm showing it, to create kind of like rules that would seem complex but aren't really. So if I'm showing a very expensive item, for example, maybe I can show as the complementary item something that costs like 50% from that, and then kind of play on that relative thinking, and I just like, get my wheels kind of going, and then you can apply it to so many different things.
Right. And you know what? This is only one decision rule, but if you think about it, what we saw when we studied online behavior is that people are more likely to engage in a given behavior, in a given task online, based on the amount of effort it requires. So online visitors rely on the fluency of the information process to determine how they feel. People often misread the difficulty associated with processing information as indicative of their feeling about the product. This is so amazing to find out. So this misperception directly impacts the willingness to purchase a product or a service. So let me give you an example. So for example, messages with many arguments are more likely to be valid than message with fewer arguments, or message coming from a man dressed like a doctor may seem more valid than the exact same message coming from a guy in shorts. And also, online users tend to choose the easiest route possible and try hard to avoid high-level processing. So the surprising finding is that most users do so even when dealing with insurance websites, which demand high cognitive effort. So I have found that lion's share of online visitors base their decision on simple intuitive calculations instead of going deeply into the details. So we know that internet users, they prefer to make decisions as quickly as possible and as effortlessly as possible. So if you consider, for example, identical instruction for chocolate cake recipe, listen to this, you're going to like this. So when presented in an easy to read font, readers assume that the exercise would take, it was 8.2 minutes to complete, but when the instructions were presented in a difficult to read font, readers assume it would nearly take twice as long, a full of 15.1 minutes to complete. So people equate the difficulty of reading instruction with the difficulty involved in the exercise itself. So if you think about it, when I try to present people with the exact same article, one time it was only the top of the article and read more, and the other time it was the whole article presented to visitors. So of course it was higher percentage, much higher percentage went to the read more because they felt it will be easy to read. So we don't think about those decisions. They are done automatically, and this is how we usually behave in the online arena.
So it's not only about really, designing the smoothest, kind of easiest process for people to follow. It's also about setting expectations as they go into that process, because people make assumptions and act accordingly. I remember that, I'm I'm a marketer, so I'm dealing a lot with online conversion and how people fill out forms. And we found that if we break down the form so that it shows only one field at a time, and if we make it mobile responsive, the completion rate for the forms goes up like 7x, 8x time, because people don't feel like, oh, I got like 12 fields now to fill in. It seems like a lengthy process. It seems like it would take a lot from me. I'm not even going to go into that. Whereas
This
if you
is
just
an
break it down,
excellent example. Exactly.
and I think it can be applied where I see a lot of our clients struggle is in account setup on the first time that a shopper comes into the website, and then on the checkout. Because essentially you can go into a website, you can find a lot of great items that you like, you add them onto the cart, and then you get to the point where you just want to check out. And you wish it was like a 2-click kind of process, but then they take you kind of back into, oh, now you need to set up an account. Then we're taking all of these different details from you. And that's like the main drop-off point that we see. So I think maybe websites can think of a better way to create like a smoother, seamless process.
Right. They should, definitely.
And so if we're already going into like, customer experience, and I mean, this is a challenging time, right? We can't really hide from that. And I think that COVID is right now, of course, shaping the new normal. It brings a lot of new shoppers online, but it also brings a new type of shopping behavior online. And I kind of wanted to ask you what you make of that first, in terms of like, customer experience, and what is its importance now for brands. And two, just ask if there are specific things that you think that for like a first time online shopper could be a great experience, or a terrible experience on the other hand, and what brands can play for.
So exactly as you just mentioned, Gal, we are right now in a very unique period in history. And of course, this period also affects purchasing behavior and purchasing decisions. And we know that consumer behaviors are setting into a new normal as people everywhere learn to live with the reality of COVID-19, and as more countries reopen parts of their economies. So although the pandemic's impact has varied across regions, of course, what I've found when I studied and surveyed people across different countries and places around the world, I found 5 themes that have become evident among consumers across the globe. And we are talking about shift to value and essentials. So people actually are looking for the value and are looking for the extra, and they're looking for the experience itself and not only the product. So of course this trend has begun even before COVID, but now people, as if they decided they know what really matters, and what really matters is not the product itself, it is the actual experience. And also we know that we are moving to digital and omni-channel experience. So of course, this trend that, okay, you can go out to the physical store, but only to feel the product. What you want to do is to actually buy it online. So you see the product, but you're not going to buy it in store, the store not for purchasing, the online is for purchasing. And also we can see health and caring economy. we know that people suddenly, because of the pandemic, started to really care about the health. And we see it in high percentage of consumers buying healthy products. And of course, the home body economy, meaning that we realize that, okay, we don't know when it is going to end. So we are preparing our home to actually entertain us and set us a company, meaning that we are going to spend a lot of time at home. And you know what? Most categories have seen more than 10% growth in their online customer base during the pandemic. Many consumers say they plan to continue shopping online, even the elderlies, even when brick and mortar stores are going to reopen. And for certain products and brands, COVID-19 caused supply chain disruption. And when consumers couldn't find their preferred product and their preferred retailer, they changed their shopping behavior. And many consumers have tried a different brand or shopped to a different retailer during the crisis. They actually said, I didn't want to try, I was loyal to my brand. And then when they didn't have a choice, they tried a new one and they fell for it. And actually, value and availability and quality or organic products were the main drivers for consumers trying a different brand. And there is another thing. In most countries, more than actually 70% of survey respondents actually said that they don't yet feel comfortable resuming their normal out-of-home activities. So for more than 3/4 of consumers who adjust their behavior due to the health crisis, the easing of government restrictions won't be enough. So instead, they will wait for guidance from medical authorities. And what is most, I think, what most interesting for us as brands in the online arena, that people look at the website and they feel they want a clean website. They want a quality website, meaning that they are so afraid of the pandemic that they are looking for a clean, neat design that can be associated with actually like it is assuring them that they can purchase from this website, and website like UX that doesn't seem clean, people prefer not to buy from it.
Wow, yeah, that's super interesting, and I think that so 2 points that I find extremely interesting in what you just described. A is, you're talking about how the health caring economy is kind of growing and people are investing more in their health and more in their homes. So it almost sounds like their utility maximization, like it's changed, like their preferences are now like different. And we're actually seeing that. We have a lot of large brands that sell home decor online, and we're seeing what's happening there. That market, I mean, traffic for some of the larger brands have like doubled, and they're maintaining nice conversions and everything. The other thing that I found extremely interesting was that you said that people don't really waste a lot of time in looking for something on the website, even though that this is their favorite brand and they're used to buy from that shop and everything, but they were looking for something, they couldn't find it, they're just going to hop on to the next site. And I think that it's a great point to consider for brands of how they can make their search and the experience online as clean, as easy, as accurate as possible, because you don't really have a lot of room for mistakes, right? If you don't serve up the right products, the right things to purchase, what the person is actually looking for, they're just going to go and search for it elsewhere. They might never come back because someone is giving them a cleaner website, smoother experience, a faster experience.
Crazy.
Extremely interesting time. And we're talking about online and how people are trying things in store, but then prefer to shop online. And to me, it clicks with one of your pieces that I read about multisensory experiences.
Right.
And I was really interested in kind of learning more about that concept and then seeing how we can tie it back to our industry and how it can be applied.
Great. I really like to explore this topic, one of my favorite. And Gal, our understanding of purchasing decisions is based on both emotional and rational considerations. So
Right.
we consider, and we touch on that in the first question, and we consider rational information such as price or product quality or reviews or ratings, as well as emotional information such as the feeling of a new iPhone or the excitement over an upcoming vacation or how appealing we find a dress in a window shop. So yet new research reveals that other surprising variables can significantly affect our decision-making process. So these might include things like where we were standing at the moment of purchase, which scent our noses detected, what music is playing in the background, or whether we happen to be drinking a hot drink or eating ice cream. So while we like to think that we know why we make the decision we make, we are in fact controlled by hidden biological forces more than we would like to admit. So, for example, one study found that the smell of cinnamon is subconsciously linked to feeling of warmth, which in turn increases the attractiveness and the perceived effectiveness of a heat cushion. And another study found that the smell of leather in shoe store, even from a spray can, led to more purchases.
Wow.
So the delicate scent Nike uses in shops has led to an 80% increase in sales. And usually we don't like to consider ourselves as creatures that are affected from our feelings or from where we stand, but in fact, we are biological creatures. And those factors affect us more than we would like to admit or to believe.
Yeah. And just an idea I had while you were describing this, you were talking earlier about how people are interested in the experience. And we're talking about like experience A to Z, right? From the website and until I got this package in my like on my doorstep. I think that maybe what brands can do with smell, because I was thinking, how can I pass on smell through the website or anything? And I think that maybe what brands can do is include that in the packaging. And so when someone unpacks what they ordered online, if my brand can have a distinct smell that I will add for every package I send, this is something that, they say also that smell is like the sense that is most associated with memory. So maybe this is something that brands can do to, attract returning purchases and like returning users and all of that, like to kind of put that experience in a place that sticks.
Right, right. And if you think about it, you just mentioned how brands can leverage multisensory consumer experience, and there are not some other ways that they think worth mentioning. So we know that in the digital sphere there is an obvious limit to sensory experiences that can be deployed. And the challenge is, the big challenge is to apply these insights and create as much cognitive and emotional involvement as possible with the senses available to us. And we are talking about sight and sound, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to remember that experience is more than just what meets the eyes. So the decision to buy a product is mediated by a number of unconscious factors that shape the consumer's final decision. So we have to think of ways to create pathways in the online arena We need to create pathways to the consumer emotions by involving the maximum possible subconscious pathway in the online interaction. So we must take into account not only the attractiveness of a product, but also its spatial orientation, its interactivity, the specific words employed, the colors used to describe, and the specific emotion we want to trigger. So I have found that the ability to influence the design of an object generates emotional attachment that leads to psychological ownership, the feeling that something is mine. Let me give you an example. When I was working with Nike, they had the costume shoes, for example. So we found that the fact you provide your visitor the ability to shape the shoes, to choose the color and to choose the swatch and to choose everything from beginning to end, actually make more senses involved in the process, and it triggers a feeling of ownership, and people are willing to pay more, to pay premium for purchasing the same shoes when they were designing the shoes. And this is what multisensory experience is all about.
Yeah, for sure. And it needs to be paired with like, a very efficient supply chain so that you can really cater to that. I think that for a brand like Nike, they can definitely do it really well. And yeah, the ability to customize something, kind of make it your own. It makes people feel as if, they are responsible for like 90% of the product. And Nike were kind of there to enable that. Yeah, and I think that sound is also, a great, sense to kind of try and play on. I was watching this series on Netflix about video games and how that industry evolved. And one of the things that they touched on with the earlier games is that how they started implementing small sounds, like to Mario, when he picks up the mushroom or he picks up a coin, and for every little thing they had these sounds, and they found that it really promotes engagement from people, and it got them more and more attached to the game. So I think that definitely companies that have like a mobile app, they can add some great unique sounds to specific actions that they would like people to kind of repeat, whether it's like, add to cart or like the checkout or just add to a wish list or whatever. I think that maybe they can add these sounds and then create that emotional attachment to the activity.
Exactly. Those were great examples. And I think this is just the way to do it online.
Yeah, a lot of great kind of direction that you can take it. Liraz, I want to challenge you with a difficult question.
I'm up for the challenge.
These are extremely disruptive times, right? And I mean, we're seeing trends that were expected to happen within like 5 to 7 years happen within 3 months. And everything is running like and progressing super fast right now. But still, I'd kind of like to ask you to give us some predictions, for retail as an industry or e-commerce as a market, like which significant changes or innovations you think we should expect in the next 3 years. And I'll definitely, go back to this recording in 3 years time and look at the predictions and then make fun.
Okay.
I'm excited.
So it is challenging. Okay, let's see. So what I think is that we will see a turning point from the field of UX, for user experience as we know it today, to the field of what I like to call PX, delivering personalized experiences. So I really feel that more and more businesses are discovering the value of customization, as we mentioned Nike before. So it is the opportunity to deliver a customized experience and the additional revenue potential that can be generated from it. So whenever I talk about personalization, people still stuck in the past, meaning, okay, what is personalization? When I say Gal, hello Gal, when I email you. But this is not personalization. This is saying hi Gal. This is automatization. But in fact, personalization becomes so strong that today many popular brands rest their entire business strategy on their ability to customize their product. So, for example, customization and personalization, of course, it's not the same, and we will touch on that in a minute, but customization, the ability to deliver you a product as a service, meaning, okay, you don't buy just the product, you actually fit the product to your own needs. So it has become increasingly significant to brand name companies because it's now part of a broader trend that shifts from viewing customers as a recipient of value to co-creator of value. And this is the key factor. Our customers are co-creator of the value from our product. So rather than being passive, the customer is now becoming a crucial part of the experience. And the same shift that was witnessed in business strategy will be witnessed in the field of user experience, because I think that it will shift from designing an experience for the user to providing the user the opportunity to become an integral part of the experience. And this is a major shift. And the key to success here is adjusting the experience to meet the user personal needs and state of mind at any given moment. So my research has found that the ability to influence the experience automatically generates emotional involvement. So just imagine now that you enter a website and you see a red background because this is your mood at the moment, and I see another background. So I think that companies that will be able to adjust to a really personalized experience, not only say my name as I enter the website, they are going to be the leaders of tomorrow.
That is absolutely great. We have I don't want to steal his thunder, but like our CEO, he talks about this concept all the time, about the difference between, like conventional personalization, which is really a lot of segmentation. It's just like, putting huge groups of people into, clusters and then serving to that, rather than really looking at the specific person. What are they really after? Which signals have they given us in their current session, in their past session, that allow us to now, with like all this technology and all the data that we have, to really create a personal experience for them, not like not a segmented experience.
Yeah.
So that's great. What else? What do you think in terms of, like innovation maybe that we might see in retail or?
Yeah, so I think that another trend that really started to catch is subscription model. So it's in recent years we see this, and also it's not about the business model, it's about the customer. So we are moving to a customer or user-centric design. And this by all means that we need to shift our attention from our product to how can we bring value to our customer. So for example, let me give you an example of a subscription model. Let's talk about Nike again. I'm sorry that I mentioned them twice, but they're really innovative in their way of thinking. So when we're trying to think about personas, so there is a big discussion about personas. Something, okay, we are past personas, we don't need it, but I'm a big believer of persona. Persona meaning trying to understand the different target audience that we have, and not only how old they are, not only demographic, but what their needs and what are their personality traits and so on. So when we're thinking, for example, about new mommies, they have their first kids and they want him to wear Nike for school. But we have a big challenge here. We have a problem, and the problem is that first, Nike is an extremely expensive shoes. Second, when we're talking about little kids, let's say years 2 to 7, so they grow up really, really fast. So it means that you need to keep changing and buying new shoes. So how can you actually solve the problem? And the idea was to switch to subscription model, meaning that you pay, let's say, $50 per month, and you get to actually return the shoes whenever you're done with it, to get to your home a new shoes with a kids kit where you can draw and play. And the thing is that it is unlimited. You can change as many shoes as you like, and you are happy, and Nike are happy because, of course, this model is extremely beneficial. But the idea here is not the business model; it's how you can actually look at your customers from their perspective, and this is the whole meaning of being empathic. And now, when we were mentioning the COVID, for example, I work with many clients, and what I saw is that the brands that want to actually save themselves, so they had what I like to call Corona sale. They were not able to keep their customers' loyalty for a long time. And brands that didn't focus on how they can get themselves out of the situation, brands that felt themselves as responsible for the big picture, and let's say LinkedIn gave away free courses, and some of the other brands gave away for free whatever they wanted. They were able to get themselves new customers. They were able to reach new market that not only discover the products, but they felt that they bring them an extra value. They care about humanity. They care about the population and not only about their business. So I think there is a shift when I'm talking about shift to a value versus product. This is the shift that I think that we are going to see here in the coming years.
Yeah, because value, I mean, that's a long-term strategy rather than price. When you compete over price, you can't really win that over time. So yeah, that's great. And yeah, I will, be true to my promise. I'm going to set up a notification 3 years from today, and we'll see. But regardless, Liraz, this has been extremely fascinating. I'm grateful for you that you dedicated your time for us for this session. I learned
Really
a ton.
enjoyed it. I really enjoyed our conversation, Gal.
Me too. My notebook is filled with I took in the meantime, and I'm sure that the people who would view this session would also be able to take up a lot of great insights and also things that they can apply almost immediately to their way of thinking. So thank you very, very much for this.
Thank you.
Stay healthy, stay safe,